Greetings. Welcome to the Tyson's Corner facility or service center for Tesla, which you can see behind me. Our show today is called Q1 Earnings for Tesla, and we're calling it the Mike Tyson edition. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show and would love to have more information on better investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. So we're calling this the Mike Tyson edition today. As you know, we typically reserve your time when we got something to say that's not the same old. And so we're just about to find out, buy or sell from the large institutions, what they think of Tesla's earnings. So we're kind of anticipating their impact potentially on Tesla's stock based on the new information we have on earnings. So the first quick item is I just did a tour of the facility as we usually do. As you can see, we're on the side of the facility, and behind me, the vehicles you're looking at are the vehicles that are in the service center. So one of the reasons we do visits to the service centers is that there's a concept on Wall Street that's called channel check. So when you start to see the channel and what's happening, you're picking up some empirical data, just data that's on the fly that you may not get if you just read a report, etc. So for our image on the front of this show, you're going to see a picture of the back of the building where all the new vehicles are stored. And we're talking mega jam facility right now. So the other thing you should look for is we're going to just post the video from the round the corner visit to this facility today, perhaps as a separate item because we're doing this show live. So I actually had two titles for this show today. One is called, in Spanish, Dolor de la Cabeza, which means headache, or we have another title that I call the Mike Tyson edition. So if you recall, Mike Tyson came up with a theory in boxing that says that everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Then we find out what the next plan is going to be. So the reason I'm calling this dolor de la cabeza is that after you look at the data, you get a headache. And then as you're sort of sifting through that data, there's a whole bunch of information you can draw from that headache. It helps to sort of set the photo up for what the future might look like. So I'm fascinated by the circumstance we're in right now because, as you know, Elon just announced a price increase for the higher price X's and S's, even though he's lowered prices on the Model Y and other vehicles sort of in that price class. So kind of what's going on here, and this is why I call this a headache or a punch in the mouth. So let's go back a few months in order to understand where we are. What happened is, call it 6 weeks ago, Elon announced that he was doing a price reduction. Now, this was a really interesting circumstance because the question is, like, why do it? Well, the answer was Tesla had a lot of inventory sitting that was not moving, and part of it could be the Twitter activities. The other part of it could be just in general the competition from other companies. So there's a mystery that sort of popped up soon after this, which was initially we had a really awesome situation where Tesla's sales actually did a jump after people saw the lower prices, and they seemed to be deciding the consumers seemed to be deciding that they weren't buying vehicles from others, but instead were buying from Tesla. So in general, this was a great circumstance. What then happened was that after, I guess, about a week and a half, two, a completely different strategy popped up from competitors. And that strategy was, nah, we're not going to give up our customers to Tesla. We're going to match Tesla's pricing. So note, competitors did not exceed the downdraft in price that Tesla did. They simply matched it. So this was a real interesting situation because Elon knows that Tesla has the lowest costs. So therefore, he has ability to lower prices and therefore control the environment that competitors do not. So in theory, what should have happened is when Tesla lowered prices a couple more times, they should have just started gaining more market share, end of story. Well, guess what? That didn't happen. Why not? Because all of the competitors that are large, that are ICE companies, A, are selling their own EVs, which they're trying to gain more traction with, but B, they have the profits from the ICE vehicles to cover the losses they may take on the EVs, at least on a temporary basis. So these folks basically decided, we ain't gonna take the market share loss, we're just gonna lower our prices. Now, I have to say I'm truly blown away by what the folks at Kia and some of the other manufacturers are doing, because not only do they have to lower prices to cover the Tesla reduction if you're a domestic manufacturer, but they have to figure out how to lower prices enough to cover the $7,500 tax credit for EVs that Tesla is getting, as well as the other domestic makes. So those guys are taking a beating in order to preserve market share. So it's our assessment, my assessment, that what Elon did based on the recent price increase was that he's got some very well-heeled competitors that are saying, we ain't gonna go for this lose market share as prices fall routine, we're gonna lower our prices as well. And this is what I call the punch in the mouth. Initially, Elon punched GM et al. In the mouth with the price reduction. Then their reaction was a punch back in the mouth of Elon with the fact that they matched his prices. So his whole logic for the price reduction, which was gain of market share, disappeared. There's a sidebar digression here to point out, which is part of the reason why there was a decision to lower prices is because there's a certain number of vehicles that have to be sold by each manufacturer in order to meet the EV goals of the United States. And so when those prices were lowered and they were losing sales, those companies have two choices. Choice number one, sell an EV and reduce the amount of tax-related losses they have. Or number two, simply lose the market share, but still have to pay Tesla through the back door because Tesla's ability to sell those EVs allows them to be able to support the industry by getting tax credit fees from large manufacturers that are not selling enough EVs. So basically, the whole idea of the price reduction is kind of getting blown up by how this little circle is working. So these guys have decided they're not going to be price leaders where they're trying to drop price below what Teslas are. They're simply matching that number. And when they match that number, there's a disincentive for consumers to switch over to Tesla, given that the pricing is comparable, the same, perhaps a little bit cheaper. So I'm surprised. I thought that all Elon had to do was lower prices 2 or 3 times. Competitors would capitulate because they're losing too much money. But the response is we can't afford to lose market share for many reasons. So that whole price cut strategy has just gotten sort of massacred at the pass. So hence our Mike Tyson, this is a double Mike Tyson because as I said, Mike Tyson initially was like, you get a punch in the mouth. The punch in the mouth was the original price reduction. But the response punch in the mouth was that those prices were matched. So now Elon has seemed to have switched strategies where he's starting to strategically raise prices again in segments that are perhaps the strongest, as well as segments where you have the wealthiest consumers who can actually afford the price, and it's not much affecting their willingness to buy. So we'll keep you posted on this, but I kind of feel like this is good news, because if we had a situation where we devolved into lower and lower and lower prices, everybody gets hurt. And given that Elon now knows they're not going to give up that market share with a lower price, he's disincentivized to do this. Now, I'm kind of pleased for Tesla in this situation, because there's a huge backlog of fixed storage, both with consumers and the mega packs. So those battery packs could be used in those facilities. The other thing is that there's also huge demand for the Semi that's not occurring currently. So I just wanted to point out in general here that we're in a situation right now where, there's a lot of other ways Tesla can use those packs and bring great revenue in. And all I have to do is switch off where those packs are going, and it's a profitable situation, and we don't have the stack up of cars that you see behind me that are unsold. And so this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Now, I don't have, the question is, what's going to happen? Well, until the Cybertruck comes out, we're in a situation where we have enough production to meet demand. Is it increasing dramatically? No, but it's profitable production, and there's no issue selling vehicles. There is an issue with taking more market share currently without the new vehicle coming in. For those of you watching me at Tesla, would you guys please create an AMG division? It's going to take you about 15 minutes, because all those cars in the parking lot at Tesla that have been souped up by current employees, all those soup up techniques is what consumers want to create a new category of cars at Tesla that can now represent the AMG division of Tesla, just like what Mercedes is doing. And now that AMG division is a premium price division that you don't have to cut price on in order to sell vehicles. So please, let's have an AMG division as soon as we can. So we will keep you posted on this. I believe that Tesla is in a kind of sideways movement until we bring on new production from the Cybertruck and Semi. And the vehicles are pretty much ready to go to add nice growth to the company with no headaches. So as soon as this starts happening, I think we start rolling again as a company. But until then, I feel like we're trending towards a sideways motion. The next thing that I'd like to finish up with today is our health tips. So I had a meeting with an internal medicine doc, and what he told me was, look, what people don't realize is that every morning when you wake up, you need to do a 15-minute stroll through your living room. And so basically the idea is for 15 minutes, just do a circle between your bedroom and your living room for 15 minutes. Then, if you work out 3 times a week in the afternoons or other times, what's going to happen is that the calories you're consuming for that day will be consumed by that 15-minute stroll through your living room. Now, if you're carrying a little extra weight, that extra workout will actually serve as a really nice way for you to tone up even more, because the calories for that day have already been consumed. Now you're consuming stored calories when you do your regular workout. So I just wanted to encourage you to consider this. I also wanted to note that you owe me 20 minutes of walking a day. 20 minutes meaning at least try to do a 20-minute walk, whether it's morning, night, noon, whatever it is, each day for the next week. And it could be fast, it could be slow. It's just 20 minutes, whatever you'd like to do. But I think you'll find that there's a psych doc that I met from Georgetown who indicated to me that what this does is generates endorphins that make you feel great, even if it isn't an intensive workout situation necessarily. So I wanted to encourage you to try that for the next week. and notice that I think you'll feel better for sure. Anyway, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. I'm going to close out with further sort of long video of what we're looking at the service facility for Tesla. And want to thank you again for joining us. Would love your comments on the Mike Tyson psych process. Tschüss German, au revoir. French, Lehitro, Hebrew, Hoda Hafez, Strashishe, Ni hao ma, Konbanwa, Japanese. And in Jamaica we say, no respect, walk good man. Arrivederci, and thanks once again for joining us, and namaste.